and I'm playing this song, and this comes first. Y'all motherfuckers on the air. I just on the air.
It looked like it's cool.
All right. Hey man, DJ, where the intro music at?
I don't think we got any intro music. We need to load some intro music. Something hard like Fight the Power or something.
You trying to get us cased up.
Welcome to the UI experience. Welcome to the UI experience.
All right, who just beat there? Somebody just beat there.
Maybe somebody just beeped out.
Yep, that's exactly what happened. So anyway, we're on the air with the Bridging the Gap show. And during this show, we try to bridge the gap to get women to understand men and to understand women. And we talk openly and we talk honestly. And we don't sugarcoat and we don't think tact is a good thing on this show. Say what you got to say. So, with that being said, we have a situation on our hands today. We're going to address two things. One, we're going to address a situation that was brought to our attention by our dear friend, Ms. Erica. And I'm going to let her introduce that. And then after that, we're going to transition into a discussion on domestic violence, during which we got a genuine member of the GDs. No, I'm kidding. Maya will be joining us for that discussion later on today. So go ahead, Erica. Why don't you introduce us, kick us off, let us know.
Okay, this topic was brought to me by one of my dear friends. She's a single mother of 3. She was married for 10 years. She's very successful as far as the career aspect of her life. She works for the government full-time. She is an entrepreneur. She makes her own body scrubs, oils, and hair products. She does photography, and she is a makeup artist as well as writes for a magazine often. And this guy has been pursuing her for a while now, wanting to take her out on a date. The problem is he lives with his parents, and he doesn't have a car. Now, he does have a job, and he goes to church faithfully. You know, he's a good Christian guy, I guess, if that's what you would call it. You know, he's very respectful, and, you know, I guess for the most part, he's a model citizen outside of living with his parents and not having a car. Now, the issue comes in with most people, I guess, are telling her, you know, don't date him, you know, you need to find someone to match where, you are in your life as far as your career. You know, he has 2 kids, and I guess that's an issue. And so for the most part, you know, all she wants is to go out on a date with him. Right now, she's not trying to marry him. She's not trying to, you know, be in a relationship right now. This is, you know, issues that's coming up in a first date. You know, her friends are practically putting him down because of material things. And I think I'm the only one, for the most part, that I know of that's telling her to give him a chance or see the bigger picture of it all. And I brought this topic up because it tends to be an issue in the black community. Black women not giving black men a chance based off of the material things he lacks. Because obviously he's going to lie and cheat and dog her out because he don't have a car. He obviously isn't a good human being or a good person because he lives with his parents. And black women tend to discourage other black women for the lack of what a black man has, or size all black men up for the lack of material possessions they may or may not have, not basing, them off of the character or off of what they potentially can be. So that's why that issue came up to me, because obviously, again, lost in translation, somewhere black women put the value and the worth of a black man based on the material things he owns.
Well, Kenneth, what's your take?
Well, as I said earlier today, when we touched on the subject during the Daily Show, I think it's really kind of a shame that your worthiness is based upon the fact that you don't or do have a vehicle, and it's based upon the fact that you might be living at home with your mom. And as I put it earlier, there's a lot of reasons why brothers live at home with their parents. The most common view is, here's a dude that's slacking, that's, laying in the basement all day playing video games or something like that. Yeah, okay, well, there are those individuals who exist. But there are also individuals who actually, they take care of their parents. Maybe their parents is not as nimble as they used to be. Maybe they need a little bit of help around the house for protections purposes or whatever the case may be. There's a lot of reasons why that brother might be at the house. Or on the other side of that point, take for instance, if he's in a city like New York. Like I said earlier, I know people who have lived in New York for 10s and 20s of years. And during that time, they never had a vehicle because they couldn't afford it. There's no place to park it. There's no place to go with it. They ride the train every day. I know people who can't drive. Does that make them less of a person because they don't have a vehicle? What has that got to do with the price of beans in China? If I didn't have a vehicle and I wanted to take out a lady to impress her or what have you, I go rent a car. But like I think are all saying, we caught up on the things that don't matter. And that's really, really, really sad that our view of the worthiness of another human being is what his particular financial standpoint is. Now, that being said, our society has pushed us to that point where if I have everything and you have nothing, that somehow means that we cannot be successful together. That's just the way our society is. That's just the way our society has grown to be. We understand that. I get it. You don't want some guy just coming and living up under you and taking advantage of you because you are the ones who's making the money. But with this brother, this is a brother that has a job. This is a God-fearing brother. This is a brother that has, I guess a high moral, standpoint in his life. This is a guy who treats you well. You were the one who said he's romantic. Forget what your friends say. Because in the end, they not the ones who gonna date you. They want to keep you lonely just like they lonely. We got to start thinking outside of the box that, some of you millionaires, take for instance Halle Berry. Halle Berry cannot find a man and keep a man because Halle Berry won't go to the hood. Halle Berry won't date a guy that worked at the auto shop that fixes her Mercedes-Benz. Halle Berry won't date a guy who serves her food when she goes out to an expensive restaurant. That's what her problem is. Because there are plenty of good dudes. Like I said, between the actual points of $25,000 to $35,000 a year, which is considered middle, lower class, if you really want to say it in America, is by no means middle class. There are plenty of brothers within that range of incomes that are good dudes, take care of their house, they take care of their family, they take care of their kids, but they can't get a shot at a good female that's of the same mentality because she looks at him and says he don't have a car. Come on, man. Really?
So, what we wanted to get, or what I wanted to get at here, is the question of whether or not, like, I wanted to get at the imagery involved here because there's a lot of play here. We talked earlier about the fact that black men and women have been conditioned a little differently. Like, for instance, it's okay for a woman to be 30, 40 years old living at home with her parents. But if a man crosses the 20-year-old barrier and he's still at home with mom and dad, you know, everybody in society, including other black men, are looking at him like, what, you know, like, bro, what, you know, what's really going on? It's time for you to step your game up. You know, really you hit that threshold kind of like, I remember growing up and seeing dudes who were still living with their parents the day after graduation from high school and wondering to myself, what the hell is really going on? You know, so it's almost that extreme for some of us, you know, whereas with women, it's not that big a deal to meet a woman and she says, I still stay with my parents, or I stay with a friend, or I stay with a relative, or I stay here, or I stay there. You know, like, why is that stereotype out there, and how does that play a part in what we're dealing with, both in relationships and in terms of mutual respect? Because, I mean, it seems really sad that you have a very good, decent brother here from all the descriptions that we've read from the post, but he's being discounted simply because he doesn't have a car or a house. And the assumption is being made that you're going to have to take care of him. He's already taking care of himself. He has a job, so you assume he can pay whatever bills he has, and if he's trying to take you out, you assume he has money to pay for a meal for you. So why does the assumption immediately jump to, I'm going to have to take care of him because he doesn't have a car and he doesn't have a house? Like, at one point having a job was enough. Now having a job is no longer enough. So, you know, can anybody speak to those issues?
Now, the thing of it is, and I want you to listen to this. He could have his own place. He could have a car. And he could have, his job and not a dime in his bank account because all his money is going to those things. Now, in the note, it did say that he was divorced, right? So at some point, and again, you have to find out why he was divorced, but at some point he did take care of a family if he's divorced with 2 kids. So at some point he took care of a family. So, again, he could be living with his parents and saving up. Maybe when he got a divorce, she took him for everything, and now he's trying to get back on his feet. But, again, I look at it as, and I had this guy that was trying to date me. I only wanted to be friends with him, but he wanted to date me so bad because I was the only woman, he said, that understood his situation and accepted his situation. He lived at home with his mom. And he said, won't nobody date him because he lived at home with his mom. But this guy had over $10,000 saved up. See what I'm saying? If he was on his own, he wouldn't have that $10,000 saved up. Whatever happened to, okay, I'm living with my parents, saving up, getting on my feet, and when I meet the woman and want to marry her, we could go out and build this home together versus me already having a home. You might have a house that I don't like, and now I got to live in your house that I don't like because you moved forward and thought ahead. It's always going to be a positive and a negative. But at the end of the day, some people are saving to build with someone else in the future versus moving on alone. But again, if he could have everything and still be broke. So.
And that's for sure, you know. And I'll go at it from a different point of view. It's not just a woman thing, because believe it or not, brothers do the same thing. You know, a brother will be quick to tell another brother, "Hey man, she out your league," or "Hey man, why you trying to date her, man? She don't date nobody but dudes with money, man. You ain't got no money. What you gonna do? What you gonna do with her?" You see what I'm saying? I know plenty of brothers like that. Sit around in the barbershop all day long and give brothers every reason in the world why they shouldn't try a relationship with a woman who's quote unquote above them. And what that does is that drives a further wedge between black women and black men, because now that's become part of the checklist. It used to be the checklist used to be, well, is he strong? Does he look like he'll make good babies? Does he work? Have we known about him beating up a bunch of women? Do we know if he, been cheating on his woman or on his wife or whatever? That used to be part of the checklist. Now part of the checklist in these days is the added 2 points. Does he have a job, and does he make a significant amount of money? And don't get me wrong, it's rough out here in these streets. I know for a fact that it's easier to live in this particular society when you have 2 incomes as opposed to 1. However, if you're in a position where basically you paying your own bills anyway, if you are doing that right now, that means that you can afford to take a chance on a brother that's got a job that you're not supporting. Now, I'm not saying go to the nearest prison and pick up the first guy you see that's getting released that day. We're not talking about that. But we talking about if a brother make $35,000 and you make $110,000, what the hell is the problem? He obviously don't need you because he by himself. And that's another question. I don't know whether or not this brother got his kids with him, which makes him living at home with his parents make even more sense. I got a real good friend of mine that as a matter of fact, he's a Hispanic, and he lived with his parents. But he lives with his parents due to the fact that he has custody of his 2 small children. So that's a child care bill that he don't have to pay. That's a government program that he don't have to partake in because he has built-in child care. There's a whole lot of reasons why that may go on, but you can't look at that as being, okay, that's a deal breaker. He got everything else going on in his life, but he live at home with his mama and he don't have a car. Come on, man. Really? I bet you got some strong legs. I bet you if you need him to pick your heavy ass up and run you across the street, I bet you he can do that. You see what I'm saying?
He's a boxer.
And he's a boxer.
Yeah.
I forgot that.
He boxed his side on the side. The question still becomes, what's more important then on the list of priorities, in your opinion, Erica, for you and some of the women that you know? If he had a house without a car, would it be okay? Or if he had a car without a house? Because I can see some women going one way and saying, well, I just don't want to be driving him around. And I can see other women, the other side, saying, well, I don't mind driving him around, but if I want to go and chill with him, I don't want to have to always come to our house or my house.
I honestly think it's split, and I'm just going to be honest. Women want both. I mean, it ain't one or the other. All of they honestly nowadays women want both. They want a horse and a carriage. They want a house. They want a car. They want you to have a mansion just in case they don't want to sleep in the same room. They honestly they want it all, and it's one of those that I've always spoken of women being unrealistic, having unrealistic goals and dreams for men or of men. Their expectations, especially after you hit the 30 mark, if they look at it as, well, after you hit 30, you should be established. After you hit 30, you should have your own house, your own something. You have to have something with your name on it by the time you hit 30. So they want both. Because if we're dating, I don't want to have to always come pick you up. It's too soon for us to go to your house. I don't want to have to always, go back to my house. I have kids. I don't want you around my kids so soon. And I want to touch on something Kendall said about the comment on being faithful. One of my dear friends also told her, if you're going to deal with a man and him cheating, you rather for a man with money to dog you out or cheat on you than for to have to deal with a broke man doing it. And again, that's where we are in society, where it's like, oh, okay, well, if you dog me out and cheat on me, at least I ain't spend no money on you. Versus I done bought you this, that, and the third, and you still dogged me out and you still cheated on me. They look at the, they look at the picture from out of a whole different lens.
No, that brings up, and excellent point was brought up that I really think people need to consider when they start. I know of more than a few people that have gotten married or gotten in serious committed relationships, and they both own homes. And this is just being completely honest, I've known people that have broken up over that issue. Who's going to move into whose house? And it's something that we don't think about, but it's something that's interesting. If I have my own place, as a man, I'm damn sure not going to try to move out of my house. And with women being the way they are nowadays, they're not going to want to move out or get rid of their house either, some of them. So how where's the balance in that? So going back to the original issue, it seems like him not having a place would kind of be a benefit in a way. That's one less argument you have to worry about. All you really have to consider is, can he pull his weight and will he pull his weight? And if he's, you just got to, when you say he's divorced, well, maybe he had a house and his ex-wife took it. That's a very good reason to be at home with your parents. There are any number of things that I can only imagine after my divorce, if my ex-wife had gotten control of our place of residency, I probably would have been at home with my parents too. So, that whole scenario is interesting, but going back to building on what you guys were talking about expectations. Okay, so we know women want it all, and we know that in some ways they're programmed by the Disney movies, the princesses. And, as Dominica said on the show more than a few times, she doesn't... What is that?
I didn't do it. I promise you. I haven't touched anything. I'm just sitting here.
I hadn't either. Is that the music?
No, that ain't no kind of music from us.
It's not me. Is there someone else on the call? I know I heard a beat.
Yeah, there is somebody else on the call. Okay. I don't know what line that was, but they just got... That's 205. I actually think that's Maisha.
That's Maisha. Yeah, that's Maisha.
Yeah.
Tide, Alabama. Okay, sorry.
Maisha, sweetie, you're going to have to let us know when you get done with your music.
She got her own intro
in,
music.
Okay?
She come in with her own intro.
I know.
Say, oh shit! Shut up, Mia here.
Like what? Maisha's a regular contributor to the show, but she got her own things going on right now.
Is this a temptation? Has she left the group?
Eddie Kane.
Oh, okay, she turned the music off.
I clicked over. Hello?
Did you?
Oh, you clicked over and it gave us like a holding music since you weren't there.
I'm sorry. I didn't know it did that.
You didn't click over. You merged calls.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
My phone doesn't say it's merged.
See, this is what we're talking about right here. Right? Women are so combative. They don't listen.
Patrick, I'm telling you, that's not what my phone said.
I'm joking.
Maybe we need to hold that one for the next topic, Patrick.
I do want to contribute to this conversation, though.
I'm joking. Maisha,
I bet Maisha definitely. Oh, I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead.
I was about to say Maisha probably definitely experienced that since she's single. She's a doctor. She's highly educated. You're very professional. I bet you probably deal with that in the dating scene, or, you know, you catch that from your friends when you're dating.
Catch what when I'm dating?
You know that,
you got to fill her in, Erica.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you know what the topic is about?
I know what the topic is about, but I didn't know what you were referring to when you said.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Your friend's telling you that whatever guy that's pursuing you or trying to court you, that he doesn't have enough. On a scale of what you bring to the table as far as materialistic things or where you are in your career.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know, like he's not good enough for you because you have a PhD. Well, you don't have a master's.
Or you don't have an education. I have a male friend that tells me that I date bums all the time, but that's neither here nor there. That's neither here nor there. What I wanted to contribute to this conversation is, I did used to date somebody that didn't have a car. I was just sitting up here thinking about that. He didn't really have nothing, but I was like 20. So that's I don't know. I was 20. That's not really an excuse, but you know, I really at that point, I guess I really didn't know much, have much, and didn't really care. So, you know, him not having a car, he had his own place, and it was the grace of God to let him keep it. But, you know, I stuck with him for a long time. Eventually, he got his own car, and it was better. Things were much better. But as far as the next relationship that I get into, I'm not willing to date somebody that doesn't have a car. Now, the place thing, if they stand with their mom, it depends on the situation. Like, I don't know the situation with the mom thing. That's kind of touch and go, like, depending on the situation. But especially with, like, the car thing, to me, if you live in a city where you have to navigate the city and you're not in, like, Maryland or D.C., I mean, you're not in, like, a metro area where you can catch the train, to me, I think you need a car. And that's my opinion. Not bashing nobody that don't, but for what I need somebody with a car. Because, you know, if I'm not well and I'm not able to do stuff, I don't want to have to come pick you up for you to go do something for me and I'm not well. Like, I'm just being real. Like, I'm not gonna relax my standards. And, I know we talk about women being too picky and too this and too that, but you have to have some standards. Like, you have to have some. Like, I always worry about being too picky, but I'm not gonna overlook a good man. But for me, cars are a little bit easier to come by. Like, you don't have to have one that you went and use your credit to get. You can just buy one off the street. That's like a necessity almost. To me, I don't understand how people navigate without them. If you live in a large enough city where there's not that public aspect, especially if you have kids. So I don't know. That's not something I'm willing to bend on, especially not in the South.
So you can
maybe
deal with
in Atlanta. Maybe in Atlanta. They got a metro system. You can get everywhere you need to get inside of the central part of Atlanta. But once you get, like, in Jonesboro, you need to have a car.
So you're willing to deal with a man that doesn't have a house as long as he has a car?
I ain't say that.
Wow.
I said if he lives with his mother, we would deal with that situation as it goes. Like, I would have to find out why. The house thing, he don't have to own nothing. Can he rent something? If he wants to own something, I'm okay with that. I think black people should own more, but he doesn't have to own it. He can rent it. Why can't he have some place to stay? I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting both of those things.
And there's nothing wrong with it.
No, there's not. There's not. We're not trying to make you feel uncomfortable. You feel how you feel. That's the point of the show. You don't have to dress it up. Say what you feel.
Say what you feel. Be real about it. But I also think this, too, as well. A lot of the disdain that some females feel for a brother that don't have his own place is based upon one thing. They have this romantic view in their mind that when I go to your house, it should be privacy. Fix me a meal, and we're going to sit down, we're going to drink wine by the fireplace, and then we're going to eat this, and we're going to eat that, and then things might happen. And they looking at themselves, the first thing they saying is, dude, you live with your parents. I can't be me in the house with your parents. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of people, they not going to fess to that part of it. But the privacy and the intimacy part of it has a lot to do with the fact that some sisters decide they don't want to mess with a dude unless he's got his own place, and that's understandable,
Is that accurate though, ladies?
I like I said, it depends on why the man is living with his mother. 'Cause it could be the case that he's taking care of his mother. It could be the case that, like you said, he's a newly divorced man and needs that assistance. Because, anybody that's newly divorced is going to come into an income problem. I ain't got nothing but love for somebody that's newly divorced because they're going to have a whole lot of income problems that they didn't have because they were having two incomes all before. Well, most cases. But, I think it really just depends on the situation. Now, if he's living with his mom and she's the breadwinner, that's gonna pose an issue with me, because that means if you can't provide for your mother who's been providing for you for X amount of years, like what are you going to contribute to my life? Even if you make $35,000 a year, if you're not regularly contributing to bills, even if your mama says it's okay, that means when I get you, if I say something okay, you're not going to take the initiative and stand up and say, okay, no, baby, I'm the man. Let me try to provide. Let me do what I can. You know what I'm saying? Like, I take issue with that. I need women in general. Like, people, we always walk this fine line, women do, because, men tell us, oh, you too picky, or men tell us, you need to relax your standards. But I know a bunch of women that mess with men that ain't SHI, you know what. Like, I know a bunch of women, and I think their standards are too relaxed, and we need to hold ourselves accountable. We need to hold men accountable and let them be men. Let them be men.
Okay.
And I know a bunch of women that got their stuff together that mess with men that ain't SHI. Like,
when you say SHI, you mean shit?
I wasn't going to say that word. I was refraining from that word.
No, she means men who ain't men
you
who
know
ain't
what? You know what? A lot of that comes from, I think a lot of women do it sometimes because they get to control the situation. Because the man need, not in all cases, but a lot of cases, if the woman's making the money, she's the boss of the relationship. She's calling the shots. And I've heard someone recently say that once they got with someone who kind of matched them income-wise, the female couldn't handle it. She couldn't handle it because every man she was used to dating didn't have as much money as she had. So she called the shots. But as soon as she got with a man that had a little bit more than what she had, she no longer could call a shot, so she couldn't handle being in that relationship. She just could not handle it because she couldn't waver her money over his head to make him jump and do what she wanted him to do, because his thing was, should I make more money than you? So if I want to do it, I ain't going to do it. And it goes back to that whole, too, what Patrick was saying. When they decided to move in together, she had a house, he had a house. She gave up her house. She lived with him for every bit of 6 months, and he put her out.
Mm.
And they got together thinking that they would be this power couple, but sometimes two power people cannot be in a relationship together because someone got to lead and someone got to follow.
Somebody got to be humble, yeah.
Everybody can't be the chief.
We need to talk about that whole power couple aspect of this situation anyway, because I think people are way too infatuated with the idea of being in a power couple without understanding what that entails.
I agree with that, because all of the, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but all of the ambitious people, all the ambitious people that I know or knew in graduate school, whenever I was in graduate school, it takes time to locate. If y'all equally ambitious, it takes time to even locate in the same place. Like sometimes it's the case that if both people are equally ambitious, that you're not going to find that dream job in the same city. And I know for that reason, people that were married and were living apart for months because both people were ambitious. One of them maybe was a medical doctor. One of them maybe was a PhD economist. But both of them want everything that they can get out of life, you know. And so for what that meant for them was living separately for months, maybe even a couple years.
And I mean, to be honest, I met 3 couples like that. One of them, they actually had been married for about 15 years. He was a pharmacist. She worked as a high-level corporate exec for BET. They had a house in Atlanta, but he worked in Florida. She worked in D.C. They had a house in Atlanta. He had a weak house in Tallahassee that he would go to when he would come to work. She had a house in D.C. that she was at when she was at work, and they saw each other maybe 1 or 2 weekends out the month. And that's how they lived. You know, that's how they raise kids like that. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. If you enjoy that, you enjoy that. But for a lot of people that have aspirations to be a power couple, that's not the type of marriage they think of when they think of marriage. And then on top of that, when y'all do see each other, somebody, like you guys said earlier, somebody has to humble down. Who's going to humble down? You know, if both of y'all are bosses, who's going to be the employee when y'all are together?
Yep. And I'll tell you something else, too. Power couples don't take into consideration, or the desire to be a power couple doesn't take into consideration the fact that when it all comes apart and it's time to go your separate ways, now there's your finances is mixed with her finances. Who's going to get this house? Who's going to get that house? Who's going to take the kids? You know? And a lot of times, those are things that people don't think about when they getting into it. All they say is, like you said, you know, I got a house, you got a house, you're going to have to give up yours. Why? Because I'm the man. Or you're going to have to give up yours. Why? Because I make more money, you know. And I used to always say, it's just a personal thing of mine, that I would never live in a house with a woman that my name is not on the lease. You know, just simply because I don't ever want to be in a position where if the police comes to the house, somebody got to leave. Well, if anybody got to leave, we both got to leave because both our names is on this house. We know it don't play out like that in real life, but that's the way I used to be. You know what I mean? And as I got older, I kind of grew out of that particular frame of mind, but there's a lot of people that feel that very same way. It's got to be me on top. But if you, like, I guess what the Bible says about being equally yoked, if you're equally yoked, that means that there is no dominant person in the relationship as far as that is concerned. Now, we all know that, you know, the man's supposed to lead and, you know, we're the head of the household, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We all know that. But I mean, in terms of the way society looks at your couple, look at Jay-Z and Beyonce. Who's on top? Who wears the pants in that family, just based upon outside looking in, just what we can see in society? Who wears the pants in that relationship? Nobody seems to know, but it works for them. It doesn't work for everybody, because everybody goes into it with the wrong ideas, especially if it's been a long time since you've been on top and you've been by yourself. It's hard to put aside that selfishness that you develop to kind of halfway humble yourself for somebody else, and that's for a man or a woman. It doesn't make a difference who's making the money.
Well,
Amen.
I got one more question, and then we're gonna switch gears real quick. Is it okay, yes or no, for a woman to live at home with her parents and not have a car, even if she's working, and still be approached or be looked at in a way that's non-negative, that's positive by society? Like, is there balance there? And why or why not?
Ladies first.
Okay, I'm going to go. I know a bunch of men that don't want a woman that's not doing anything. You know, ever since women have become more, you know, emancipated or if you want to call it independent, I know a bunch of men don't want a woman that's not doing anything. So, I mean, from a woman's perspective, we might say it's okay, but I know a bunch of men that will say, I don't want a woman that does not work, or, you know, I don't want a woman that's not going to be. And, I mean, if a man wants somebody that's domestic, he might be okay with that. He might be willing to take her out of her house and put her in his home. And she may be okay with that, but I don't think it's, in my opinion, it's not okay for nobody that's an adult not to earn their weight. Unless their husband or wife says that it's okay. Mm-hmm. You living off somebody else, you need to have their permission. That's really my take.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I think, for one thing, I think it's an overblown type situation. I don't think that these situations are as common as people think they are, that, you know, here you are, you're a mid-level manager at IBM or Xerox or something like that, you know, and you just happen to fall for or start messing with, you know, the dude that's the bouncer at the club. That don't really happen like that. Most of the time, people meet their significant others among their same social strata. You know, clubbers date clubbers. You know, people who like upscale restaurants or upscale lounges, cigar bars, they date people who like the same thing because that's where they meet them. You see what I'm saying? So, I think it's kind of overblown. However, like GD said, I know a lot of brothers that's that way too. That they'll look at a female and they say, well, you know, she don't want a job, so what do I look like messing with her? That's just more pressure and more, you know, weight on my shoulders that I have to carry. And that's fine. That's fine. But you also got to look at it like this, too. I'm from the old school, you know. I believe that if a woman wants to work, she can work. If she doesn't want to work, if I love her significantly, okay, as long as you take care of the house, I'll go out here and kill this buffalo. It's not a big deal for me. That's what I'm going to do anyway, whether or not you're here or you're not here. I'm going to kill this buffalo. It makes it easier if you'll trip him before I cut his throat, you know. But on the real, it's not really that necessary. You know, our parents grew up, maybe not our parents, but our grandparents grew up in situations where the man was the only one that really worked in the household. Grandmama stayed home and raised the kids, and it was not an issue. You see what I'm saying? But now we have females out there that make in excess of 3 to 4 times in some cases what an average black man makes, and they feel like, you know, their only alternative is to mess with white dudes, and they say, okay, well, a white dude ain't looking to live off of me. Most brothers ain't really looking to live off of you either. They just want to hit it. You see what I'm saying? Let's keep it all the way real. They just want to hit it. And if all the rest of that stuff, that'll come with it. And we appreciate the gravy that go on them potatoes, but the potatoes is the fact that we just really into you. You see what I'm saying? We would be into you whether or not you had the condo or not. If you was living with your mama, we would still be into you. That's the way brothers think. Sisters, on the other hand, they tend to take a more pragmatic view. They tend to take a more economic view of relationships. They look at it and say, okay, well, where am I going to be 5 years from now? Brothers like, wonder if I'm going to hit that tonight. We're like, I wonder if 5 years from now if this brother going to have a job. Will he be in prison? Will he be dead? We think about it, she might go for it. Maybe if I give her a rose or something, she'll let me hit it. We're basic type dudes. You know what I mean? We basic human beings. At least that's the way I look at it.
But that's programming on a genetic level, in my opinion.
Mhm.
And to I want to ask you a clarifying question real quick, Kenneth. When you say your grandparents didn't work, do you mean women didn't work at all, or women just didn't have the same type full-time employment that men had?
That's exactly what I mean. There were plenty of them that had jobs. You know, they worked in a local store. They might do, seamstress jobs. They might clean people's houses. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that there was more of a emphasis on motherhood and taking care of the household than it is of developing a career.
Right.
Because they could do that at that time.
Right.
Cost of living wasn't so high.
I just wanted to give you, I didn't want anybody to take your words and be like, see, he said black women we didn't work back in then. No. Just curve that back around. That's not what he said. That's not what he meant.
That's not what I meant. Well, I said, but that ain't what I meant.
That's what you said, but that's not what you meant. But I got you.
Can I know what y'all are talking about?
Oh, we're about to switch gears right now, Judy.
Well, wait, don't switch gears yet. I wanted to respond to his comment.
I don't even know what y'all are talking about.
We're about to switch gears right now. We were talking about the incident from the group. I'm going to give Maisha a chance to respond, and then we're going to go into this domestic violence discussion.
Okay, but what incident from the group?
With what the girl posted.
Oh, okay.
Okay. First part of it.
Go ahead.
What are y'all talking about?
Go ahead, Maisha, and then we're going to switch right into this
having those different values, and it's kind of also related to what Patrick was saying about the genetic program. You got to remember a lot of the stuff that, and I know this because I talk to my grandmother regularly. Like my grandmother will say stuff like, I don't understand why y'all mess with these men that can't help y'all. She was like, back in my day, I wasn't really talking to a man that couldn't help me out, and we have to keep in mind, they come from a different generation where the man was. I'm not saying don't value what your grandparents say or, what people from that generation say. I'm just saying you have to keep in mind that where they come from, it's a whole different generation. So we have these social pressures. We have these family pressures that tell us, don't be with a man that can't take care of you. But on the same token, I just saw, like, the other week, black women graduate from college more than anybody. Like, it's really like a catch-22. Like, how do you find somebody that's on your level when the percentage of you finding somebody that's on your level is so small? Well, and when I say on your level, let me be clear. I mean, like, if you're looking for somebody that's equal educated-wise, and that's generally what I'm thinking of because of my level of education. So I hope that's not offensive the way that I said it. But
I'm offended because I'm not a doctor.
Don't be offended. Please don't be offended. But, no, seriously, you just have to put things into perspective. You have to figure out what it is you value, what it is you're willing to accept. And for me, the car thing, I'm not willing to accept. Maybe the house with the mama, it depends on the situation, and that's how I will close that out before you switch gears.
All right. So, and I'm mad at the way you keep putting emphasis on mama, but we gonna keep it moving anyway, because Erica said not to ask her no questions. So, moving on. We're going to talk about this domestic violence issue because people want to talk about it, but they don't want to talk about it. Some people are calling it a distraction. Other people aren't. Whatever the case may be, the issue at this point is kind of being shoved under the rug by a lot of people. And it's giving people the impression that we just don't want to deal with domestic violence. So we're going to have a real candid discussion about domestic violence for the next 30, 35 minutes, speaking very plainly, speaking very openly, speaking very honestly from both the women's perspective and the man's perspective. I don't want nobody to, don't get, okay, we're going to say it all up front. I don't mean to offend nobody, so we don't have to say that no more. I'm not trying to offend you, so we don't have to say that no more. And this is just my point of view. We don't have to say that. Okay? Now, all of that stuff has been said for all of the statements that are about to follow. So if you get in your feelings, then you need to put a Band-Aid on it and deal with it. All right? So with that being said, I want Maya.
Okay, I'm sorry, Patrick. I'm back.
I'm not starting. Y'all, I'll go out. I don't want to start. Go ahead. Let somebody
You don't want to start?
No,
I was just
but
about to say I'm back whenever.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start. I have my favorite. Yeah.
Okay, so and we hear you, Erica. You back. So does anybody want to kick off this topic, or should I?
Watching you. Go ahead.
You the moderator. Handle that, brother.
Right. You answer.
No moderator.
I don't want nobody to be mad at me.
So basically, here's the deal. And all of this is it's an ongoing discussion, but it was recently brought to light by the Ray Rice incident, and then it's being extended by the Adrian Peterson incident, which that is a section of domestic violence, and it's being extended even further by all of the other people that are being, they got Brandon Marshall is bringing forward people are bringing forward a 5-year-old charge on him, and a bunch of different other situations. But let's just talk about it candidly. Black women are more likely to be in an abusive relationship than any other woman. Black women have to deal with these incidences at a very, very large amount. Most of the times they don't report. And the response seems to always be, well, men hit or women beat men too. Now, that's the response you're going to get from most of the men. And while that is true, some reports have said that men get beat on about as much as women do. It's just they have a higher unreported level. Still, to use that as an excuse, it seems to be pushing women further away from us. It seems to be like we're saying, we don't care about your issues. Or, you hear people now saying, well, we'll stop hitting y'all when y'all stop hitting us. Well, not every woman that's been beat has hit the man first. So we just want to have this discussion. So I'm going to open up with, how do you guys feel? Not just about the Ray Rice or the Adrian Peterson incident, but how do you guys feel when you see the comments? Well, we'll start with you, Kenneth. How do you feel when you see the comments and you see all of the things that are being spread out about how black men are abusive and how black women are victims and how nobody cares about what black women are going through? How does that make you feel?
Well, it really doesn't make me feel one way or the other, because I understand how the issue is being shaped, and I understand how the dueling concerns on whatever side that you happen to be on is molding that central tenet of domestic violence is bad. You see what I'm saying? What I see what I think about when I think about domestic violence is not so much who is in the right or who is in the wrong, but more to the point of how can we come to grips with the fact that this happens in our society more than we ever really want to talk about. Yeah, Ray Rice, he was on camera, Yeah, this individual was a, mega superstar, what have you, and he beat up his wife, and, the TMZ knew about it 2 hours later. But what about my neighbor? What about the people who live upstairs? What about my child's third grade teacher? What about her husband putting his hands on her? What about my coworker at the plant who comes to work with a black eye, and we asked him what happened? Oh, me and the guys was, we were just horse playing, and he accidentally hit me in the eye, and come to find out that his wife didn't hit him in the eye. What about him? We don't want to talk about it because it's easier to use people like Ray Rice and to use the Adrian Peterson situation as proxies for what we really want to say. I said that when the Ray Rice situation first dropped, the first thing I said was, this is going to give a lot of women who want to speak out against domestic violence but might not be in a position to, or want to speak out about it but feel like they're not going to get heard, to use this situation as a proxy to get what's on their chest off. You see what I'm saying? Because abuse doesn't only exist when a man puts his hands on a woman. There are many, many, many types of abuse. You stupid. You ugly. Bitch, if I throw your ass out, you ain't going to be nothing because you ain't nothing without me. There's all kinds of abuse that exists. And it's not just a guy putting his hands on you that, makes it abusive. Or a woman putting her hands on a man that makes it abusive. You stupid. You ain't shit. You got that felony. If I put your ass out of here, then what you gonna do? Go back and live with your mama with no car? You see what I'm saying? It's all kinds of abuse out there that we need to talk about. But we cannot have a real, meaningful conversation about it if we keep coming at it from a different point of view. Black women say black men don't give a shit. You see what I'm saying? Y'all ran out there to support Mike Brown and Ferguson, but y'all won't stand behind a black woman who's being abused. Men come back and say, y'all got y'all back. The whole white feminist movement has come to y'all aid. And that's who y'all should start looking to for help. But we all know that in reality, the white feminists don't give a shit about Janae Rice or any of the significant others of any other people who got beat up by their boyfriend. They using y'all as a crutch to be able to say to their white partners what they really want to say, but they can't. So you used as a tool. You used as a proxy. And we don't look at it like that, And I've always been of the mind that if I don't want to know what Patrick's doing, if I don't want to be involved in Patrick's bullshit, I'm going to quit looking through Patrick's window. You see what I'm saying? It's not my business what goes on in Patrick's house. Because where was the old saying goes, there's your way of looking at it, my way of looking at it, and then there's the truth. Nobody really knows the truth. So I can't just come out and say, hey, man, Pat, you was wrong, man, that you beat up your woman. Or, E.T., you was wrong. You shouldn't have hit that dude in the head with that skillet. I wasn't there. I don't know. You see what I'm saying? And one piece of violence is no more serious than another piece of violence. Either or, both parties is wrong, no matter who was the aggressor. But, that's how I look at it.
All right. Erica, you got a comment on that?
Yeah, first of all, I want to say with Kenneth, I agree 100% on everything he said. A lot of people do tend to box domestic violence, as he said, in that physical form. But when you look at how many women are being threatened, like I think it was Kerry Washington put out that financial domestic abuse that women go through, and sometimes, of course, oftentimes men go through. We have to realize, me personally, a lot of our domestic violence issues have to do with where we are in our life financially. Am I being stressed on the job? I remember my first serious relationship. We were in the military, and when he had a bad day at work, if he had a bad day at work, as soon as he came home, he took it out on me. And truthfully, the only reason why we didn't fight was because I was too young. And what I mean by that is I didn't recognize what it was. So when he got in this bad mood, I would leave. Had he gotten mid-20s, Erica, and he came home and he had all that attitude that he had, and at that time I was paying all the bills and I was taking care of everything, he had a bad day at work, he came home and he would want to fight me, but I would leave. Me at 20 Ericas would have stood there and we would have been both of us would have been fighting. Maybe I was more mature back then and I did not realize, but, it was stress on his job that brought it home. No one knew what I was going through. We were both on active duty. We both had top secret clearances. I could have ruined that boy's career had people known what I was enduring at home. Fast forward a few years later, get in another serious relationship, and it was both of us. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend, because he always think that I make it out that I was the good person in the relationship. It was both of us. Neither one of us knew how to keep our hands to ourselves. And to me, it dawned on me that, what we don't do in our community oftentimes? We don't teach one another how to deal with anger. It's not taught. We go through life, we see our parents being abused, or when we're kids and we have a fit and we go in a room and we want to break something and tear something up, that's not right. That's not how you handle your anger issues. That's how I handle my anger issues as a child. If my mama did something I didn't like, said something I didn't like, the first thing I would do was go in my room and I would tear the entire room into pieces. I'm not going to sit here and blame my mom, but looking at it, she should have taught me and told me, Erica, that's not how you deal with your anger. But I would assume that she must didn't know how to deal with anger, because I teach my kids at this point how to deal with their anger, because at the end of the day, you know what taught me how to deal with my anger? Spending the night in jail. I spent the night in jail, and I was like, heck, this is not for me. You know what I'm going to start doing? I'm going to start keeping my hands to myself when I get mad. When I get mad, I'm going to stop.
Hey, y'all,
I'm going to stop tearing up stuff when I get angry and get upset. Because, again, no one taught me how to deal with that anger. And no, it wasn't because I got whippings as a child, because I didn't get that many whippings. My mom didn't have to whip me because for the most part, I was a good child. I was afraid against whippings. So I'm not going to sit here and say, because a lot of people say, well, it was because they got whippings as a child. No, that's not always the case. But again, it goes back to we have to teach our sons how to walk away, how to deal with anger, and we have to teach our girls that, hey, if you hit him, he might hit you back.
He might.
It's a chance. And you know what? I tell people, as a female, I'm on the opposite end of it, because Patrick, I say it all the time, Patrick, if I hit you, I gave you permission to hit me back. Kenneth, if I walk up to you and hit you, and you know I am when I see you, you have every permission to hit me back.
Why the brother always? You only doing that because I'm black.
That's a joke. Yeah, that's a joke between me and Kenneth, y'all. Trust me, I would never hit him. He's like my big brother. But seriously, women gotta get out of that. If I hit you, I'm a woman. You can't hit me back. If you hit me back, I'm gonna call the police. And then when the police come, first of all, as a black woman, you should never call the police unless he's killing you. Don't stop calling the police on petty stuff with these black men. I
don't know about that.
No, ma'am. If he's beating the crap out of you, I've seen some females call the police on men for petty stuff.
I agree. Some
with the petty stuff. Yeah, not the petty stuff, but not.
If he's beating the crap out of you, I wouldn't tell you to call the police. Where's your uncles? Where's your cousins? Where's your
dad? Have none.
If he beating the crap out of you, you do that, then you call the police. Yeah, call the police for that. But
what if you don't have any uncles?
That's like if you don't have any, that's when you call. Don't get me wrong. When I was going through the bulk of the stuff I was going through in my relationship, I wasn't with my family. I was in the military. The last time me and my ex got into it, I was pregnant with our baby. I think I was 8 months pregnant. And I don't know what happened or what triggered him wanting to, felt the need to lash out at me. But all I did was, me personally, I didn't call the police. I just left. That's just how I felt about it. I had no family around. If my brother would have found out some of the stuff that I went through with my ex would be dead right now. But what I learned to do personally, I just learned to walk away. No, every female's not going to walk away, but that's just what I learned to do. I just learned to walk away, and eventually he matured and realized, oh, she ain't with that fight no more. She ain't with us with it. And again, I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat like I was so innocent. It was both of us. I would hit him first sometimes, and he would hit me first sometimes. I'm not going to say that happened in our relationship, but that was my relationship. Because, again, when I was angry with him, that's the first thing I thought to do was to hit him because I was upset, and I couldn't deal with my anger. I didn't know how to deal with it. But, again, when I did hit him, and I'll never forget the first time he ever laid his hands on me, I had a shovel in my hand, and I was about to hit him with that shovel. Again, not going to sit here and pretend like I'm innocent because I'm not. I was about to knock him clean out with that shovel. And this was his exact words. The only way that I could get you to stop from hitting me is for me to hit you. Don't get me wrong. We all know he could have left. We were young, early 20s, 21, 22, somewhere in there. He could have easily left. But at the end of the day, I realized and recognized where our situation went wrong. And I'm not faulting myself or blaming myself, but it came from me not knowing how to keep my hands to myself.
Can I jump in here and say one thing?
Uh-huh.
On this particular subject right here, I like to always say, today's generation of females, y'all some punks. Because I'm old enough to remember Mr. Charlie down the street, Uncle Paul round the corner, you know what I mean? Old man Brown from over 2 streets over coming to church with the pumpkin head because he done messed around and put his hands on his wife. And she done went upside his head 4 or 5 times with that cast iron skillet. But did they break up? No. What today's women have done is, rightly or wrongly, I'm not downing anybody for that, you know what I mean? If you got a gorilla in your life and this dude is breaking your ribs, do what you do. Call the police. Call some help. If you ain't got the guts to stab him, call the police. You see what I'm saying? I ain't saying that. But what I am saying is this. For all you women out there that want to call the police because your man done raised his voice at you, that want to call the police because your man wouldn't pay for you some new shoes, who always want to keep drama into your relationship because of the sympathy effect that you get from your friends and your other loved ones, you're wrong. Because this is what happens. You call the police. You say, hey, Jalal did beat my ass. Is he still in the house? Yes, he's still in the house. Now, me and you, we done got to arguing. We might have pushed each other or whatever the case may be, but ain't nobody going to the hospital or some shit like that. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, it's wrong, but shit like that happens. Let's keep it real. You see what I'm saying? Now, when the police get here, guess what? There ain't no taking it back now. It used to be a time that all a woman had to do was just not show up in court. Or if she was your wife, she couldn't be compelled to testify against you. Guess what? That shit's over with. They've changed.
Sure is.
The state can pick up those charges.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? You might not even, you done forgave him, you done calmed down. You still mad about that girl he was creeping with, but you ain't mad enough to send this dude to prison about it. But guess what? It's out of your hands. Now, this brother lost his livelihood. This brother is got a criminal record now, or at least everybody, even if he beat the case or, they let him plead guilty to some nonsense, everybody in the neighborhood looking at him now like, that's the dude who beat up his wife. You have basically destroyed that dude's life, and you still got to live with him because that's your baby's daddy.
That's what I'm saying. That's the point.
Are we talking about women being abused? Are we talking about the women being abused or the women playing games? Because I thought we were talking about actual women being abused.
And we talking about a little of both. We talking about because the two go hand in hand. The two go hand in hand. I'm not saying that women out there are not being abused.
I didn't say that, but I don't think the two go hand in hand. I think they're two different things.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Go ahead, Genuine Dime. Go ahead. Channel your inner gangster disciple.
I think that you have that group of women or that section of women who do play the games about calling police and all that. Nobody's agreeing with that. What I thought we were speaking about, or what the topic was, whatever. What I was saying was that I think you said something that's talking about, Kenneth, you said that this generation of women are punks. Did you say that? Because in the older days, the wives used to beat their husbands
no, they used to protect themselves. They used to protect themselves.
So if I, in my generation, decide that if I'm getting beat up and I don't want to fight them back, I would rather call the police, then I would go up under the punk definition, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Mm. Yeah, okay. So why is it that why do I need to wreck my hands and my face and my body to fight some man back? Why can't he just keep his hands to himself? And also I'm trying to figure out how it is that I become a punk because I don't want to fight. Especially if I have children in my house that are watching me and the father and her father, his father, whatever, they're watching us go back and forth. You're watching him beat me, so now you got to watch my mama beat him back.
Because the law of the jungle is self-preservation.
But I'm not in the jungle. I'm in my house.
See what I'm saying? Yeah,
right. But I'm not in the jungle. I'm in my house.
But you are. See, this is my point. This is my point. I am not condoning men beating up women. I'm not condoning women beating up men. What I'm saying is that if you are attacked by another human being, be it your husband, be it your boyfriend, be it your kid's father, doesn't matter. You have the right to defend yourself. We have women in this country who stay in abusive relationships for years. Yeah. And the first thing they say is, well, Stockholm Syndrome, and there's psychological reasons why, she won't leave or she can't leave because of the kids or whatever the case may be. That's bullshit.
No,
that's bullshit. If you getting beat bad enough, leave.
Not hard.
That's all.
I need people. I need people. This is what I need, because that argument right there gets on my nerves too. Because if you have never sat with a woman who's been getting her tail beat from the beginning to the end, every Wednesday, every other Saturday or Sunday, if you haven't sat with her and talked to her to find out what it is that's going on in her life and how she's feeling about, don't tell me what her syndrome is doesn't exist just because she doesn't want to fight back. What kind of mess is that?
I was given birth by one of them.
I know that's fine that you were. That's fine that you were, but we're not talking about everybody. It's fine that you were, but you can't say that for everybody. What irks me about this situation is that everybody's got some type of way where they can defend or dispel whatever's going on with the woman who's being beat. Now, your situation and what it is that you gave birth to and you sit at home and you're watching it yourself, that's one thing. It's another thing if I was watching it, Maisha was watching it, Erica or Patrick, but you cannot, just based on your experience, tell somebody else what it is that they need to do with their experience. That's where I'm in from. And as far as the black men and the black women thing, and you were saying something about black men or telling the black women, well, we don't need to stand behind you because you have the white feminist movement stand behind you, but y'all don't believe that. That's my thing about that. Y'all are quick to say that the white women aren't standing behind you anyway. So if they're not standing behind us, how can you then turn around and use that as an excuse why you won't stand up and do something about that woman getting beat? That's my problem with that.
And what I said was that's how some men look at it.
You did.
You see what I'm saying? That's what I said. I said that's how some men look at it. And what I'm saying is that's always been a myth. That's always been a myth that we wasn't behind y'all in that situation.
Where are they standing at, though? Where they at? That's what I want to know. They
all over the place.
Where they at?
They all over the place.
Where? Because I swear, I'm barely seeing them. When I'm looking around, because since this situation is going on, of course, everybody's exploded. Every website's got something, magazines, news, whatever. And I read them all. I'm like you. I pay attention to the news. I do all that. But where are they? Because every sprinkling, you might see a man say something you want to stand up, but the majority of them don't have nothing to say. or they're defending the actions, or trying to find a reason why it was her fault, or why she stayed, or why she married. Even black women are doing that. That's the most disappointing thing to me.
I just want to say, I think that's and this I hope this doesn't sound, well, never mind. I think that's just like a small sample bias, because, like, that's what you observe. But I've seen where men have been like, I can't believe he treated that woman like that. He treated her like a dog. Why was he dragging her? Why did he hit her that way? But I've also seen the comments that say, well, what did she do? I mean, because everybody saw that little tap that she did before he got onto the elevator, you know. And I think that we all need to, all of us, this generation, just need to take a step back and just look before you leave. Like, everybody's so quick want to be in love and be in a relationship. Some of them signs be there. Mm-hmm. Like, I was dating a guy, and I told him, you know, I was dating him for all of maybe a week and a half, and he was like, he had this anger problem in my view. And he's like, nah, you're doing a lot by saying I have an anger problem. But the next day I see him bust this porcelain vase wide open with his bare hand. That could have been my face. At that point, before I fall too deep, before I fall entirely for this man, I leave. Mm-hmm. Like, if we all, men and women, if we all take the time to get to know people and get to understand their moods and their anger problems and their issues, then we can take on some of the responsibility as far as putting ourselves in this situation. Because once you fall in love with somebody, even if they hit you, I'm inclined to think that you may not leave, mm-hmm. even if they hit you. And
that's a valid point. Go ahead, Dr. Williams.
In addition, like me, from the men's perspective, for a man that may say, no woman has ever pushed me to this point, they need to do some pre-screening too. Mm-hmm. Because if there's a woman that can push you to that point, you never should have been with that woman in the first place. We all need to just take a step back. We all need to take some time to learn people before we just get into these relationships with people. But once you get into it, where do you go from there? Once you've fallen in love with somebody, it's a lot of stuff you won't take for somebody that you're in love with. And like Ken said earlier, it's not necessarily just physical abuse.
It's not what
I agree with it.
I didn't hear what she said, the last thing.
It's not necessarily physical abuse, is how she
is. It's not necessarily physical abuse. And so I with the situation with Ray Rice, I don't care what she did. This is my opinion on just that incident. I don't care what she did. The way he treated her in that elevator, he lucky I can't find him. Mm-hmm. Like,
no, I agree with that.
Should be
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Everybody should be on them just based on that.
Every incident, but just that one incident.
Right.
Just based on that, he should be drug out back and, you know, somebody should put their goon hands on him just based off that. But
absolutely,
when we talk about women leaving, I think it's a little bit different when we talk about women leaving. And by the way, for those listening in and asking, that was Maisha just talking, Dr. Maisha Williams. Genuine Dime Maya was talking before her.
Oh, I was yelling just in case they was wondering. Yeah, that was me. Sorry.
So, there are people asking, was that Maya just talking or was that Maisha just talking?
No, that was the quiet one of the pips.
I'm normally the quiet pip.
So, but I do think there is a lot to, when we start talking about women leaving, we have to take into consideration it's funny, we talked about love and the biological components of love and this, that, and the third. But when those feelings get evoked and those hormones start raising to make you feel some type of way, the excitement becomes a turn on. And in a sense, I don't mean a turn on in the sexual sense. I mean, and this is from me talking to women that have been abused. The excitement becomes a turn on in the sense that wow, he must really love me if I can piss him off like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I always thought that was just some foolish-ass whatever until I started hearing women actually say it to me. You know, you read about it in the articles, and you're like, yeah, whatever, that's foolishness. Whatever, that's foolish. And then you hear women actually say it to you time after time after time after time again. Older women who were in abusive relationships when they were younger, and you say, well, why would you stick through that for 2, 3 years, 4, 5 years, 6, 7 years? Well, you know, at the time I just thought, you know, if I can really make a man that upset the way he lose control, he must really, really care about me. And it's something to be said about her own self-esteem or her own values or how she was raised or how she values herself, that she would justify him putting his hands on her by saying he must really love me. You know, but that's a whole, you know, that's a part of the conversation. That's a part of it. So it's kind of an interesting conversation because we can't really separate it from the people that play games. In a post that I saw recently, there was somebody saying men abuse their women physically because women abuse their men emotionally. And to some that might sound like a cop-out. To others that sounds like a brilliant explanation. To me that sounds like a great conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we think about that?
I don't even know what that means.
You don't really know
what
what
they mean by they're saying that the reason why he may put his hands on her is because, what do they mean by abuse emotions? Like he's cheating on him, or she ain't loving him right, or
I think this goes back to the conversation we had about emasculating men, women saying things, doing things. They're not necessarily physically abusing their men, but you know, like they say white women are expert. The reason, you know, there's a joke. The reason why white women are getting killed by their husbands is because when they get mad, they'll whisper something in his ear that's crazy, and they keep whispering it until he snaps. When black women get mad, they'll whisper something in a very loud voice in a very crowded room that's very private to the man to embarrass him.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that's what they're getting at.
But do you think that these men that will easily abuse a woman, like it's like second nature to them, do you think that's something that is just created once they're upset about something, or do you think that's just it's what they've seen as a child, so they just continue that as they grow older and mature? It's just in them. Or you think they can? Some men can be developed into being an abuser, or some emotional abuse by that woman. That's typical.
I think it's emotional maturity. I don't think, because every man that's abused his wife hasn't seen his dad do the same thing. I've seen those cases as well, where I've seen sons actually get beat up by their fathers for hitting on their wives. You know, I think it's an emotional maturity thing. Some men, they can't deal with their emotions. They get upset and they rage out. Now, maybe for all their life, when they raged, there was no woman around. And when you get married, 9 times out of 10, your wife is in the vicinity. Mm-hmm. So whereas before you was raging out and putting holes in the wall, now you're raging out and putting black eyes and bruises on your wife.
Right.
I think it's actually a number of things that cause that. You know, all the way from anger management issues, all the way up to the other end of the spectrum, that some dudes that you marry just happen to be psychopaths. They just happen to be sociopaths, and they just gonna whoop your ass for nothing. You know.
That's true.
That's
true. Along that spectrum is everybody in between. You're going to have dudes that the only way he's going to actually put his hands on his woman is if his woman is basically getting ready to burn him with the grits or stab him with the knife. That's the only way he's going to put his hands on his woman. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to be to hold her. All the way to the guy who comes home and say, you know, What's for dinner? Oh, I ain't have time to do it yet. The baby was screaming and poop, 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 poop. Now she got the punk in the head. You see what I'm saying? And there's all there in between. Some of them, they are this way because this is what their father actually taught them, not
right.
What they witnessed their father doing, but their father actually had them conversations when they was driving somewhere to the game or something. Man, you can't let them women be talking any kind of way to you because give her that backhand.
Color purple.
You know what I mean?
Color purple.
You got dudes out there that was raised that way. Not saying that it's right, not condoning it in any way, shape, form, or fashion. But what I try and say is that we have a tendency of only wanting to look at life at how it should be and not dealing with life of how it is.
I agree.
See what I'm saying? Dudes is out there doing all kinds of just crucial shit to they women and to their kids.
All right. I'm sorry, Kenneth. I gotta chop you right there because we about 5 minutes over. So I want everybody to take a minute or two to give your closing thoughts. We can come back with a part 2 for this next week.
Hold on. Okay, wait. I asked my question. I guess in a minute. I didn't know we had timed.
Yes, we're trying to keep it brief now. Because we're actually broadcasting right now, so people hear y'all going off.
Okay.
That's where all the questions is coming from. It's not just our little phone conversations no more. We actually live.
You telling me that before we got it?
Because I wanted people to see you the way we see you. Passion, fire, burning.
No, but my thing is, at least we know that the dang on thing is. Okay, go ahead. Pardon. You said a minute.
So, because you know what? I would have told her we're going to be broadcasting live, and she would have got on here and then mute.
That is a lie.
That is not a lie.
That is a lie you tell. The only reason why I invite during Kenneth Daily is because I'm doing other stuff. I am not at home.
I'm just teasing you, Mike. Calm down. Don't shoot me. Don't shoot me.
Lies you tell.
All right. So everybody take 2. I'm going to give everybody 2 minutes to speak their final piece. Not 2 minutes. That's too long. 1 minute to speak their final piece on domestic violence. We'll come back to this topic later on and revisit it because we really need – I kind of feel like the conversation today kind of kept shifting away from actually addressing the issue to kind of trying to place blame is what it felt like a little bit. Mm-hmm. So we're going to come back to it. But in any case, since we let you open, Kenneth, we're going to let you open with the close as well. So give us your 1 minute spiel on domestic violence to close out the show for right now.
Okay. 1 minute spiel, lightning round. First of all, I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea. I don't want anybody to think that Jalal somehow condones domestic violence, because I have witnessed domestic violence from the time that I was a very young child all the way up to when I became an adult, both in my personal life as well as the lives of other people that I know. So I get it. I don't condone it at all. What I'm saying is that we got to get to the root of the problem. We got to quit, like you said, placing blame and trying to find somebody to blame and say that this is all your fault. It's everybody's fault. The people who's involved with it as well as the people who watch it and don't say shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's my
You done?
Yeah, my
really?
Because if I get started, ain't nobody else going to get 2 minutes.
I thought you was pausing to take a drink of your Coke or something. I said, okay. All right. Erica, you up next. Speak your piece.
All I'm going to say is on that is, it goes back to earlier when I said, teach your kids how to deal with anger. If you could teach your child how to deal with anger, how to reroute that anger without putting their hands on someone, that makes a huge deal. And everybody has to keep their hands to themselves, whether it's the man or the woman. If someone makes you get angry, learn to redirect that anger and just simply walk away, because the end result is never worth it. It's too much on the line putting your hands on someone at this point.
All right.
I think it's 1 minute.
Maya, our resident gangster disciple. She's not a real gangster disciple. Don't.
Yeah, and don't say that anymore. You run around looking for me. No, thank you. My minute is only that since this situation came out and everybody's been talking about it, and of course everybody has their opinions about what went on with the races. What I have tried to focus on since then is people to take them out of it and just talk about the issues themselves. Yes, we have a lot of stuff that's going on in our community. Yes, there are a lot of things that we need to tackle. Yes, there are a lot of things that we need to handle. But we have to find a way to be able to handle this situation amongst ourselves, spread it out to everybody else. But we've got to find a way to stop telling people that they're distracted, or this issue is, you're using this issue to be distracted away from something else. We are able to do a lot of things at one time, and we have to find a way to be able to hold the black women, support the black women, and do something that black men and black women can be together and just lift each other up.
All right. And Maisha, bring us home.
Okay. All I want to say is that I think it's important, one, that we have these conversations, two, that we exhibit that we care, and three, for those people that believe in a higher power or believe in God, pray for the people in these situations and that they are able to break the chains that pound them, because it's hard. Thank God I've never been in a domestically violent or situation to my knowledge. I mean, maybe I was in a verbally abusive, I'm not sure. I mean, you never do know when you're in them. But, it's important, I think, that we pray for these people and they pray for themselves. We have, and we be an open ear and non-judgmental ear to people in these situations. And that's all I have.
All right. And so with that, we want to thank you guys for tuning in to the Bridging the Gap show, a show where we work on bridging the gap between black men and black women so that we can get back to being respectful towards one another, being caring about one another and building with each other. We need to have these conversations more frequently, locally as well. So in order for us to have these conversations, you need to start talking to people. But more importantly, you need to put your feelings aside. Get out your feelings. Like we always say, if you find yourself in your feelings because you're a little hurt, put a Band-Aid on it, suck it up, and push on through. I'll see you guys next week. All right, we off the air. Y'all don't hang up just yet.
Mute me again. Mute me again when we...
Oh, hell no.
Oh, no. No. Patrick Messy. No. Well, yeah, so.
Patrick Messy.
All right. Looks like I'll be in host mode. This is Madison, Mad Eye Son, on the line with LT. And we have some other folks that may be joining us throughout the second installment of the UI Metaphysical Show, where we talk about all things esoteric without limits and stretch minds, imaginations, and reality. LT, thanks for calling. Thanks for joining me. Last time we had this discussion, it lasted for quite a while. This time I hope we'll be able to get as much great content out as we did then. How do you want to get started?
OMG. I have been on one. I'm thinking that what we need to be doing in this aspect is bringing the next layers of depth and insight to all of the current events. So anything that's going on in the world right now, as far as Ferguson, as far as what we're seeing with the NFL, the NBA, all of these different elements that are being portrayed to us on the media, those aspects of our existence right now, we need to be looking and giving them meaning, because it seems like it's just a lot of things going on around us. But what does it mean? Does it have a purpose? Is someone, creating these for a reason, and what do we need to glean from it? So I think that's the direction we need to go in.
Okay, so let's start with the date. It's September the 19th, 2014. We're 2 days before the equinox. And as we talk about metaphysics, we start talking about astrology, astronomy, and all those things. That's going to be an important piece of the puzzle, right? So when we look at all of these events that are timed, that are specific, that are placed in their locations in our news media on purpose, deliberately, do you think that there's something to the old reign or the old regime coming down that requires that to be part of the smokescreen?
I think most definitely. And first thing, let's put our disclaimer out there, because a lot of the things that we're gonna discuss and that we're gonna introduce, a lot of it is kind of elementary in the sense of there's going to be things that you and I know that are basics to what it is that we're discussing. So when you mentioned astrology and things like that, I think we kind of have to lay the foundation for people who don't know. So before we delve into who is behind what people don't know, you know what I'm saying? So first things first. So in the astrological realm, what a lot of people are not aware of is that the Gregorian calendar that we live by is not an official calendar. It is the calendar of the people of the profane. The people who would be considered sacred, who follow esoteric knowledge, follow a 10-month calendar that starts in March. Kicks off in March, and so technically we're in the 6th month. So September will be the 6th month. All things astrological are based in numerology. There's a lot of depth to that, but what people just have to understand is that numbers are powers that have vibrations, frequencies, much like if you looked at something under a microscope or an MRI or even deeper down to some of these quantum physics contraptions that they use to look at atoms. Everything has a frequency, an energy, a pulse, so you could see it on a screen, right? So you see the sine wave. So this is what we have to have people understand, that numbers have frequency, which would explain why certain things happen on certain dates, certain times of the year, because of the astrology of certain things. So that foundation is laid. So that being said, this regime that you speak of is going to follow the astrological calendar, which largely goes by the moon cycles. And then they're also going to implement the numbers. So anything that they do is going to coincide with the moon cycle, sun cycles, planetary positions, and dates. So yes, so this regime that we speak of, yes, they are operating on these principles, and this is the journey that we're going to take people into, so they can start understanding what's going on around them and start looking for patterns, because this is all mathematics.
Okay, so let me clarify something, because we're going to get some people that chime in, listen in from time to time that have no idea what the hell we've said so far.
Right.
So I'll put it in terms that people are familiar with. The Illuminati discussions and all of these, they and the people that built the nation and all this stuff, they operate at a higher functioning level that involves knowing where the planets are, where the suns and the stars are at any given moment in time. And that's a short version of saying they know what's going on with the vibrations and frequencies of the universe. So that gets into the as above, so below. And when we put that piece under what you've just said, it's a little bit easier for folks to follow as we start talking about the current events as they unfold. Do you think that might help somebody? And again, we only want to